It was definitely a lot of comedy. You
Yeah.
have the Ewoks. Han's trying to have a bachelor party at one point,
Yeah.
essentially, and
He
he's
doesn't
got
get like Leia a real ring at all. It's like a wooden thing that breaks, which adds some nice tension and drama later. Um,
yeah.
but
I
yeah.
so I liked some of the uniqueness of the wedding on Endor, and it seemed, the kind of the surroundings, and if you're gonna pick a wedding venue, right? Like
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Minus maybe the teddy bear aliens that are going to interrupt things, but like take that away. But like just the big majestic trees and all
That's
the
true.
nature and all of
Yeah.
that, like it's a great venue for a wedding for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And like
some
it's
of the
not like Leia has a lot of other family, or Han for that matter, right? They're both kind of, aside from the other people who are there on Endor with them, Luke,
yeah,
Lando,
everybody that needed
etc.
to be there was
They're all
already there.
there. So I guess why wait, But
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of impulsive. It seems like something that Han would be all about, kind of
yeah.
being impulsive. He probably wants to lock it down. He already, you kind of sense throughout the book he's got a bit of an inferiority complex a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
around Leia,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's probably thinking she's way out of my league. I don't deserve someone this awesome. So like she said, yes, let's. He's not going to be
Yeah.
opposed to just getting it done, and but yeah, I thought some of the Ewok humor was a little not really my style, but some of it was funny. Like I chuckled at some of the stuff.
Yeah.
You of course you have C-3PO involved, and he's kind of
Try to make everything perfect and
yeah,
fussing
he's
about
trying to do
everything.
his thing. He's misunderstanding what Han really wants, and Han's getting frustrated.
Yeah.
I thought they nailed the personalities pretty good when it comes to like the differences between Han and Leia and Lando and Luke,
Yes.
and everybody kind of did and reacted the way you would expect those characters to
Yeah.
react.
The characterization was very good in that from that standpoint. I had some issues once we get into the honeymoon, which I'll save.
Okay.
Again, not necessarily out of character, but just I guess a little disappointing. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But you're right. The writing itself, when you were reading Han or Leia or Luke, you could hear their voice in your head. And I thought that was very well done.
And if you're doing the audiobook, you could definitely hear their voice in your
That's
head.
exactly as read by Mark Thompson
right.
or whatever.
So you had mentioned kind of the Vader stuff, and specifically on the planet. Luke has done his funeral pyre, thing. They talk about Leia kind of realizing that he had disappeared for a while, and
Yeah.
they even talk about like how his clothes smelled like when he came back, and
Yeah.
I thought that was a little disturbing. Like, oh, your clothes smell like burnt body, or like they didn't specifically say that, but they kind of implied
It's implied. Yeah.
a different kind of a smoky smell. But brother and sister have different reactions to this. Obviously, Luke helped redeem Vader. He had kind of his moment with Vader as he's dying. He got to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Leia, not so much. Leia's memory of Vader is all very bad. He was standing there as her planet was destroyed. He tortured her. She's not thrilled about the fact that she is, it's been revealed that she's the daughter of Darth Vader, and she's still struggling with it significantly. Whereas Luke's kind of already seemed to come to grips with it.
Yeah. And like you said, that was one of my favorite parts of this book, because we've seen Leia deal with this later on in the Bloodlines, right? Where she's dealing with how the secret gets out, and now the galaxy knows who her father is. But in this book, this is a much more personal thing she has to deal with, and she has to kind of reconcile that her father is like one of the most evil guys in the galaxy, and like you said, she hasn't seen the good in him. All she saw was tortured. She got tortured on the Death Star, and Tarkin and Vader blew up her home planet, and then her boyfriend gets tortured on Bespin and
put into carbonite,
and she gets like thrown. That's basically it. That's her whole interaction with, and there's other stuff, of course, in the EU, but none of her interactions with Vader show even the remotest sign that maybe he might have some good in him.
Right. She doesn't have the same context.
Yeah.
And even with Luke, even with the context Luke has, it's hard to say, okay, well, I had this one moment with him right before he died, and he said he's good now, so I'm going to forget all the evil things he did.
Right. Exactly.
Luke definitely seems like the type of personality who would be willing to kind of quickly look past that and be forgiving. Leia, not so much, where she's like, no, it needs to be earned more than that.
Right. Exactly.
He didn't have time to earn it, because obviously he died. So, and even like Bloodlines is pretty far into the future from now, right? Like we're talking, I don't know how many more years into the future. I'm not, I don't have it on the time.
I think it was like, wasn't it like 5 or 10? I can't remember.
I was thinking more like 10
years
into the future, because I think Ben was already kind of
I think he was already much older.
But yeah, so I mean, she's had that much.
It's after Shadow of the Sith, so yeah.
Yeah, even by Bloodline, she still hasn't come to grips with it. I don't know that she ever does.
I mean, that's something that kind of scars you for life, you know.
So they even had a scene where I guess she decides to go for a walk, and kind of almost like happens upon it, like in like his helmet and everything, like his helmet. And I don't remember the detail around like, did she do anything? Like, did she just leave it there, or did she?
I think maybe she picked it up and looked at it.
I think she picked it up and looked at it, but
I think she left it.
Okay, because then I was like, oh, that, because we see,
that's how Ben gets.
Yeah, like Ben has it and stuff. So maybe she like took it with her, but I don't think the book goes into that much detail. I think she just left it there.
Yeah.
But so that was pretty powerful, and it kind of carries on throughout the book. She thinks about it a lot. What does that mean? It's kind of a similar thing. It's a theme in Star Wars, or at least it has become a theme because of the sequel trilogy. Obviously, you have Rey, right? She's the granddaughter of the Emperor. Which, I mean, if you want to trump, oh, you're the daughter of Darth Vader. Well, I can trump you. I'm the I'm the granddaughter of the even more evil.
That's the only thing that gets worse.
Yeah, right. So who's worse than Vader? The only person maybe is the Emperor. So so they kind of carry on that type of story with the sequels. But
no, I thought that was, I think, my hands down my favorite aspect of the book by far. Just getting to dive into how she deals with that and how she tells Han, right, eventually, and then how Han takes that, and so very, very, very well written.
Yeah, and I apologize. I'm recovering from a cold, so I'm trying to like mute myself as I'm coughing and like kind of choke up on my words here a little bit. But
the audio listeners will never tell. Well, they'll never know though.
Yeah.
But see, that's why you should watch it on video, because you get all these little details.
The inside. When did Aaron have a cold?
Exactly.
But in Han, like you said, Han does have to deal with it to an extent too. Like she brings it up later in the book. Like, doesn't it bother you? And Han's kind of like, no, it doesn't bother me. But then he starts thinking about it a little bit more. He's like, well, maybe it kind of does bother me. He starts,
which is kind of a natural response,
Yeah.
Like
that's something that he has to think about. Like, oh yeah, I'm married to the daughter of one of the most evil people that's ever lived, and is responsible for a lot of our suffering. As a group of friends, like they've all been scarred by Vader in one way or another.